We'll come back. So we're asking ourselves the question, why rebuke openly, and how can we apply this advice to ourselves? Because Paul said to Timothy, rebuke an elder who continued to sing with Buke, that elder openly, that others may laugh. Now here's a deal. Many of us have influencers in our lives, so maybe you are a parent. So the oldest child or one of the children who has a lot of influence on the others. Or you're living in a club, or you're leading in an environment at work where you have an influence amongst the others within a particular group. Now that influencer, if you've won them about something and they don't listen, and you told them once or twice, you should rebuke them openly. This is the reason why. Because if we do that, they would no longer lead people astray. Because the point is, if the elders of the church were not rebuked openly, they are more likely to lead people astray. Influencers lead other people astray. The second thing is, people generally copy what is back, and sounds really weird, but people will generally copy what's bad. You know, I never forget this in church. If somebody comes late and you tell them why you come in late, they always say, well, that sister also came late, and that brother also came late. They will never point to somebody Kennerly. That shows us that this is really correct in churches, correct that people always look at people copy was bad. And Paul advises in verse 21 of chapter 5 of fasting with the essays. I charge you. Let me read for 21st what you say is that so that others may take warning. They are like, you know what, I don't want to be rebuked, so I'm going to make sure I am careful. Then it says in verse training, when I charge you in the sight of God and Christ Jesus and the elect in Jos, to keep this instructions without partiality and to do nothing out of favoritism, which then comes to the next 2 points I'm going to make. When you do that, you are displaying zero tolerance when you do that, when you rebuke somebody who's an influence. You're really saying that you're not going to stand for any form of favoritism, and people are going to respect you for doing that. What does God say about this? Again, we can think about this in terms of what James tells us in James chapter 3 verse 1 is, it's not. Many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly in the same way, and influence must know that they're going to be judged a little bit more straight than maybe the ordinary person. So an influenza has a responsibility. Your child is an influencer, has a responsibility. Your supervisor has a responsibility where you manage your C of your organization. The managers have a responsibility, and they must be rebuked openly if they do not stop soon, or I will see you in the next election.